As Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Bureau of Near Eastern Affairs at the U.S. Department of State, which sponsors the Global Innovation Through Science and Technology, or GIST, initiative, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this GIST TechConnect event. We are pleased to feature this program during Youth and Entrepreneurship Month. As President Obama said, we believe entrepreneurs can create jobs that fortify relationships between countries, build global markets, and help fulfill the dreams of all who desire the freedom to make of their lives what they will. In December 2012, the United States partnered with the United Arab Emirates on the 3rd Annual Global Entrepreneurship Summit. This event united entrepreneurs, innovators, and policymakers from around the globe to discuss ways to build partnerships that strengthen innovation and entrepreneurship in the region and the world. We are excited today to continue the conversation that began in Dubai. At the summit, we were proud to feature the important role that youth play in making this goal a reality. Winners of the GIST Tech Eye competition held at the summit, including Khalid Wajdi from Egypt, who invented a new 3D motion capture system, are strong examples of the innovative youth in the region. Entrepreneurship requires powerful ideas and networks to help young men and women turn their ideas into products and companies. An integral component of our science diplomacy efforts, the GIST initiative links technologists, entrepreneurs, and financiers from across the globe. Today's TechConnect program brings together over 20 universities and incubators in the broader MENA region to discuss the important first step of entrepreneurship, developing a viable idea. After today's discussion, I welcome you to join the 120,000 other members of the GIST network. I want to thank our panel of experts for joining us today to share their experiences in creating technology ideas and answering your questions. And now, I'm pleased to introduce Ovidiu Bujorian of CRDF Global, our partner in the GIST initiative, who is today's moderator.
Thank you, Ambassador Schmierer. It's great to be with you. We are excited to welcome entrepreneurs from all around the world for a conversation with very successful entrepreneurs here with us. Today we connect people who speak the same language, people who believe in the power of entrepreneurs, the power of you, the power of young and dynamic people to change their communities, countries, and region. I'm Ovidiu Bujorian, and I manage the GIST initiative. We are very proud to partner with the State Department on this initiative to help youth around the world to power up their dreams and turn their technology ideas into reality. CRDF Global has been proudly supporting entrepreneurs in more than 40 countries for the past 15 years. We have worked with entrepreneurs, entrepreneur support organizations, incubators, universities, you name it, always believing that tech entrepreneurship is a great source for prosperity, growth, and personal fulfilling. Today we are thrilled to host, in partnership with CONEX, a virtual conference connecting entrepreneurs, mentors, investors across the world. And it is wonderful that this level of outreach is possible because of the partnership between CRDF Global, the State Department, and a very good number of local partners in the countries that we are working very close with you. I would like to ask you to use the hashtag @GISTTechConnect when talking about this event today. You'll see this name also online. So we'll encourage you to tweet about it. And also I will encourage you to submit your questions that you can ask your panelists later. Please feel free to start questions now as the program goes on, so that our colleagues will process those questions and they will be sending it to us during the program. I personally look forward to a great event, and it's wonderful to be here with three amazing entrepreneurs. And today's session of GIST TechConnect will begin a dialogue between the panelists, the successful entrepreneurs, the mentors and investors in America, as well as the MENA region. to exchange perspectives, experiences, and trends, especially in the process of generating an idea for a technology-based venture. We are excited that this event is actually a continuation of the first event we have done with Pakistan, TechConnect Pakistan, which energized more than 1,000 entrepreneurs in Pakistan. The topic for today, TechConnect, is ideation, the process of generating new ideas. How do you come up with an idea for a new venture? I wish there was a formula or secret potion that helped with idea generation. I'm always working on finding one. Maybe you have some of your own secrets. All of us would drink that potion every day, and I'm sure that it can help to a certain degree. You may think that idea generation is an innate ability. Although there's some truth to this, I think there's also there are a lot of things that can be learned, a lot about the process, a lot about the experiences of the people that were there. And we are very fortunate to have the three amazing entrepreneurs, people who have a lot of practical experience of actually testing new ideas, testing new methodologies, new processes. And would be great to facilitate this interaction with entrepreneurs, people who are at the beginning of their journeys, to help with their idea formulation, answer the questions about the roadmaps that they may have. We have with us today Jeff Hoffman, who is a founder and partner in ColorJar, a venture accelerator firm that helps entrepreneurs and small business owners launch and grow their new business ventures. Mr. Hoffman is perhaps best known as a co-founder and former CEO of the Priceline family of companies, currently valued at $34 billion, where he led the development and launch of Priceline consumer company, Priceline Yard Sale. He's also launched the successful ventures in the entertainment sector, such as Black Sky Entertainment. Together with us, we also have Nolan Bushnell, the father of electronic gaming, an engineer and entrepreneur who founded Atari Incorporated, an enormously successful video game and home computer company. In school, Mr. Bushnell was learning the basic of computer graphics while managing an amusement park and playing tournament chess on the side, talking about multitasking at the same time. Fascinated by a combination of computers, images, and fun, Nolan went into creating the first computerized video game, and then 2 years later, he invented Atari. In addition to being named one of the Newsweek 50 Men That Changed America, he has founded more than 20 companies integrating science, technology, and entertainment, including his current venture, Brainrush education software. He's also famous for funding Chuck E. Cheese, a family entertainment center that's very popular with kids and grown-up alike in the United States. Would be great to hear a few words also about your upcoming book later on, if you could share a few stories, because I think it's directly related to the subject of this event. And also with us, we have Magid Abraham, originally from Lebanon, who co-founded comScore, an internet market intelligence company, where he remains president and CEO. comScore provides market intelligence for companies in internet and traditional media, retail, telecom, and other industries, spanning 6 continents and 41 countries. It's great to see that global perspective also in terms of your company. He was selected as a technology pioneer by the World Economic Forum, and in 2010, comScore was named Global Growth Company Shaper, a program that recognizes companies that are influencing global trends among growth technology companies. To get us started, I want to ask each one of our panelists, how did they came up with their ideas for their company, and words of wisdom for our entrepreneurs. I would like to ask all of you to kind of connect your process of starting new company with the topic of this idea, which is idea generation, how you come up with an idea for your venture, things that you think would be relevant for our entrepreneurs in the audience.
Sure, so I'll start.
Please.
You know, entrepreneurs are idea farmers, and the more I thought about that analogy as I was an entrepreneur for my whole life, the more I realized that is what we do. Our job is to harvest ideas. But in order to harvest ideas, you have to plant seeds of ideas, water and feed them, and hope that some of them will grow. So there's a process that I use that I just want to share for planting the seeds of ideas in my mind and hoping that some of them grow. And for lack of a better word, I've just called that process info sponging. But here's what I do, and it's a deliberate process to increase the odds that I might have another good idea at some point. And we do this in my company. I take the first like 15 minutes, 20 minutes of every day, no emails, no texts, nothing outside in my business, and I take 15, 20 minutes every day to just explore the world around me. I go online and I read articles that are not in my industry, that are not relevant to my company. I let my mind wander. I explore things that just catch my attention. And as I read these things, each day, it's only 15 minutes of the day, but I write little points down. Anything interesting that's going on in the world. A new technology was released, a new trend in a certain country. It might be every day, twice a day, I check on Yahoo, the top 10 internet searches. What are people thinking about? What are they researching? So the idea is to take a few minutes every day to this info sponging process, to look at a broader world around you, to make notes of things that are going on in the world that at that moment don't seem relevant to you. But if you do that every day, and at the end of the day, I literally pick up that sheet, look at it and say, did I learn anything? Literally, I ask the question, what can I do today that I couldn't do yesterday? What changed while I was asleep in the world, because the world moves fast, that creates an idea that I might be able to jump on? So that's a process I use literally every day to try to keep ideas flowing through my mind.
And you use this to generate the idea of Priceline with your colleagues.
Sure. So Priceline was an example because if you took, there were a bunch of separate points going on in the world. There was stories about distressed inventory. There was stories about articles about yield management systems. There were consumer trends. And if you were to keep looking at all those independent data points separately, it might not mean anything, but if you think of them as puzzle pieces, put all the pieces on the table, move them around, one day you wake up and you say, wait a minute, I could create this thing that couldn't have existed yesterday.
Great to hear this. Idea sponging, and will be great to have your thoughts later on how you implement this. We could share with the entire audience. Nolan, please.
First of all, I want to say double and good on you, Mr. Hoffman, because it's a really good process. I'll add to it because I think that the other thing that you can do is what I call mash together. A lot of very interesting things happen at the boundaries. You know, that's where all the earthquakes are. That's where the volcanoes are created.
Shake things up. Yeah.
But more than that, what happens is, what happens when you mash the coffee cup business up with a pen? Is there such a thing? You know, and that may be a silly one, but how do you mash an amusement park up with a TV studio? Could that lead to a video game? and so sometimes when you take disparate things and then just let your mind sort of wander as to what does this intersection speak to? And you can end up with an awful lot of very interesting things. The other thing is I like a quote from Linus Pauling, who said, if you want a good idea, get a lot of ideas. And I didn't do this at the beginning, but I do now. I have probably 7 or 8 business plans going all at the same time. And the business plans choose me. I don't choose them. And what I mean is that the world kind of moves to where all of a sudden one of them becomes more relevant and more interesting and more powerful. Because timing is really, really important. If you get the timing right, then everything works. If you get it wrong, you can't work hard enough to make it happen. And so by having several, you don't get so tied into something that's the wrong time, wrong place. And so I really like this idea of be a relentless business plan writer and take it to the point where you get an idea of how big the market is, you know, what the product may cost or the service. And so you sort of sketch it out. It's 2 or 3 pages, it's not a big deal. And then you file it away for each few days.
Mashup idea is fantastic. The idea is to take your mind places you don't know why you're going that wouldn't be obvious to go to and see what happens when you get there.
No, it's great. All great ideas, and they build on top of each other. Could you share with us some thoughts on, Magid, on how you came up with your idea of comScore? And
well, let me, I will start with the comScore. And I think all ideas, all successful businesses are ultimately about solving problems that nobody has solved or solving them in a differentiated way. So in 1999, the internet was at the peak of irrational exuberance. A lot of companies were getting incredible valuations on the internet and going public without having any revenue or whatever. So the world was crazy about measuring eyeballs. So how many visitors you got will determine how valuable you are as a company. So we thought that at some point, rationality will prevail, and people are going to ask the question, what are those eyeballs worth? When they go online, what do they buy, how they transact? And so we got the idea that instead of just counting how many people come to a website, which there were a couple of companies doing that, we're going to solve the problem of measuring how many people or what people buy and how they transact. And our target customer was actually the Fortune 500 companies, which when they want to invest online or they want to use the internet to advertise to consumers, they really want to understand the ROI on their investments. So that was the origin. That was the origin of the idea. As I said, we started in 1999. That was a particularly different class of companies that were venture funded. About 95% of the companies who were funded that year failed. And the reason is that in 2000, the internet bubble burst. And there was what I call the nuclear winterland of the internet that lasted 2 or 3 years, where it was very difficult to get funding, and the market dried up, et cetera, et cetera. But we somehow endured, we adapted, we went on to measure web audiences around the world. So by expanding globally, by measuring not only what people do on the web, but what video they consume, what search they consume, by measuring advertising campaigns and providing ROI measurement. And now we are into on-demand analytics. So it's an idea that got started and then evolved as the market conditions changed and as we had to deal with it. Now, I want to echo what my colleagues said. So my son is an entrepreneur who started a company at the age of 22, and actually was very successful. He became he made about $30 million by selling his company at the age of 24. So clearly,
like father, like son.
At least he doesn't ask for an allowance anymore.
Yeah, that's right. So I was having dinner with him a year ago, and he said, so I'm saying, what are you going to do next? And he said, well, I have a whole bunch of ideas that I want to pursue. I have, in fact, 148 ideas. And I said, what are you talking about? So he pulled his iPhone, and he has a list. And every time he is doing something and he runs into a problem or he identifies a need, he writes it down.
That's a great insight.
And that's how he essentially creates this portfolio of ideas, and eventually he will decide which one has the best chance of succeeding.
It's connecting to what you were mentioning, exposing yourself to a lot of ideas and then analyzing and see how they connect and which one will bubble to the surface. Thank you very much, all of you. Great insights. And now let's hear about just one of the many great ideas that are coming from the MENA region, the same region Magid is coming from. Jeff Hoffman is one of the most successful GIST transformers and Lebanese entrepreneur who has turned her love of engineering and swimming into an exciting new product that will be in stores very soon. Her invention, Instabit, was recently recognized in the Consumer Electronics shows by the Huffington Post as one of the top 15 gadgets at CES, and also she was covered in Wired Magazine, BBC, and Wall Street Journal. We would like to play now the question from Hind.
My name is Hind Hobeika. I am the CEO of Instabit, a sports technology company based in Beirut, Lebanon. Instabit is developing a heads-up display for swimmers to monitor their training stats such as their heart rate, their calories, their number of laps, and so on. I got the idea while training with my university's varsity team. I built the first prototype at the Stars of Science competition in Doha, and I won the third prize. Then I got some funding from Beritech, a renowned Lebanese incubator. And since then, I gathered a small team, and we've improved the product so far. Our plan is to take it to market. My advice to all entrepreneurs is to keep their eyes open, to keep reading, trying new things, and to always be critical. Nothing is perfect out there, so as soon as you find something that you think can be improved, try it out and see if you can take things forward. Always apply to competitions, always go to meetups, meet other entrepreneurs. This will give you a lot of confidence and will help you know if you're thinking in the right direction. Good luck!
It's great to see him serving as a great inspiration to young entrepreneurs and innovators around the world. We hope that her story would encourage everyone viewing to pursue their dreams of creating the next big tech idea. And now let's open up to questions from for our panelists from the MENA entrepreneurs. Please remember that you can send in your questions by typing in the chat space below the video. Here's the first question from Perihan Abu Zaid, the CEO of Kabila in Egypt.
Hi, my name is Perihan Abu Zaid. I'm the CEO of Kabila Media Productions from Egypt. My question is for all the panelists to consider. I already have a company. How do I know this is a good business idea? Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Perihan. I think it's a great question. So the question is, I already have an idea. How do I know it's a good idea? Jeff, would you like to?
Sure, I'll take that one. And by the way, hello to both Hind and Perihan, entrepreneurs that I've worked with both and are very impressive global entrepreneurs out there setting a great example. So here's the thing, when most people have an idea, the mistake that they make, and I'm going to use that word, is that they go into their office or their conference room and immediately start working on it. People take an idea and say, I'm going to develop this thing, push it out into the world and see if people like it. The right thing to do when you have a good idea is to get out of your office immediately and go into the marketplace. Whoever it is that you're building this idea for, go see them immediately. So what we always did in my companies was we were never in our conference room. We were out in the market with the customers, finding out, is there somebody that values this idea, and is there a value equation? Is there somebody that will pay for this idea? So the most important thing you can do when you get an idea is figure out who the buyer of that idea is and go spend as much time with them as you can right away to make sure that you even have a real business there.
A great answer. Let's move to the next question. That's an excellent question, Perihan. Now we have a question from Saeed Habdani, who is the program manager with the Algeria Startup Initiative, one of the partners of the GIST initiative. Please.
Hello, GIST TechConnect. My name is Saeed Hamdani from Algeria Startup Initiative, an organization aimed to foster entrepreneurship in Algeria. My question is for all of the panelists to consider. Can you please share a story of when a business idea failed and why? And then do you think you could have done anything different that would have led to a greater success? Thank you very much for your time and all your commitment to young entrepreneurs. Bye.
Thank you very much. Nolan, would you like to address? It's a great question.
It's perfect for me because I've probably had as many business failures as I've had successes. Well, not quite as many, but my biggest failure was actually a small personal robotics company that I tried to do in the early 80s. And the idea was sound. The market wanted something like I was describing. The technology just would not allow me. It was too soon, and I don't believe that there was anything I could have done other than figure out that the technology wasn't ready yet. A lot of the things I wanted to do, I needed multi-threading operating systems, and I needed a whole bunch of servos with costs that were less than they were, and things like that. And so getting your idea at the right time is really important. Because if it's at the wrong time, all you can do is wait. Like right now, I think if I were to try to do my robot company again, I think it would be a massive success. In fact, I might do it.
In fact, I might join you.
Great. Thank you very much, Nolan. Thank you for the question, Saeed. Our next question is from Ziad Sankari, CEO of Cardio Diagnostic in Lebanon. It's just a coincidence that he's from Lebanon and our speaker is also originally from Lebanon. Let's play Ziad the question.
Hi, My name is Ziad. I'm the co-founder of CardioDiagnostics, a company that develops technology to monitor heart patients outside of hospitals for a long period of time so that we can diagnose patients and help them and save their lives. I have two questions for the panelists. The first, can you share with us a story about how you moved from a simple idea into a successful business? And the second is, how do you validate your venture ideas, especially in regions where data and statistics are lacking? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ziad. Magid, would you like to address the questions of Ziad?
Ziad, great to meet you, and great to meet successful entrepreneurs from Lebanon. So in terms of ideas, I have tended to basically solve business-to-business problems. And usually I find ideas by, in my employer, let's say, I would basically find problems that we're trying to solve that are still unsolved, or by talking to customers and identify a need that is not solved, or identify a need that is different from the way they're expressing it, and there is a solution to it that is actually ingenious and can have an application that they are not directly asking for. Now, in terms of new ideas, obviously I assume that the first thing is you would use the resources available on the web. There are many research companies that publish research for free on the web about market trends and statistics on different market sectors or different segments. comScore, for example, we have a lot of research that we provide for free that's available on our website, and there are a lot of other companies like that. There are a lot of news articles that would address that. Beyond that, the discipline of new product research usually starts with something called a focus group, which is basically you identify 10, 20 people and you explain your concept and you try to get reactions to it. Now, one of the things that you have to do is if you are the one that's kind of trying to collect that feedback, people will be reserved about telling you it's a stupid idea. So you have to say, oh, a friend of mine, or I've heard this idea, or something, to give people the permission to give you true feedback about the idea.
Nolan and I will be happy to tell you it's stupid, by the way. So just call us when you're not sure.
You know, and sometimes I even say, I think this is kind of a crazy idea. What do you think? You know, sort of prompt them to be negative, because false positives are more expensive.
People are uncomfortable telling you, particularly if it is your idea, that it is really something that doesn't work. So I think that that's in terms of evaluating the market. The other thing that you need to do, I mean, ideas are a dime a dozen. So the question is, how defensible is the idea? Anybody else has it. If you were to adapt it, is it going to be a local adaptation, or is it going to be something that's global? And what kind of differentiation you're gonna add to it? And also very important is that what would it take to get that idea to work? And very often it's really important to have a team. You might be a technical person, somebody else might be, but you need a marketing person or a salesperson. And you cannot really create an idea in a vacuum as a single person. You really have to have the team that will help you take it to market. And if you really don't have that, no matter how good the idea is, unless you have VCs that will pair you with other people that can help you with that. And then the last thing is that if you can't really get immediate funding, do you have the wherewithal to get a prototype? People react a lot better to something tangible that they can see rather than just a concept.
Great, excellent insights. And now we have a live question from Egypt, from Cairo. I have an idea, but I'm hesitant to share it with anyone because I'm afraid it will be stolen. Do you have any advice for me? And this is actually through the GIST initiative. We have seen it in other countries that we are working with. It's like the concept that an idea can be stolen. How do you share? How much do you share? Do you share?
Yeah, I actually want to jump on that one. And welcome the question from Egypt. I've spent a lot of time mentoring entrepreneurs in Egypt, and it was interesting that one of the best ideas I ever heard, I had just come from Silicon Valley, flew to Cairo to mentor entrepreneurs, and a young Egyptian told me a brilliant idea and shared it with me. But here's my answer to that question, because we get asked that all the time. I have an idea, and I'm afraid if I tell somebody, they'll steal it. This is going to be tough love, but here's the answer. If your idea is so easy to steal that you can tell it to me and I can move ahead of you, get another idea. An idea should be something that you have some amount of unique qualification to succeed at. You have relationships in the industry, you have past experience, you know the technology. There should be some reason that you believe you are well suited to execute that idea and everybody else isn't. If it is an idea that's that simple, then, like I said, you probably need a better idea. You have to share your idea to get anybody to engage in it. We won't give you money, we won't work with you, you won't get people to work for you. If you're not willing to share the idea, there's no way you can build enthusiasm around the idea. So you have to.
Okay, I will add to that it will be important also what do you do with that idea and actually starting to implement that idea, and a lot of the difference will be also in the execution of the idea, provided that the idea is a great idea. And we'll talk about this in the next GIST TechConnect. Ghassan in Oman has a question for Nolan. How did you come up with the name Atari? I'm curious what are the steps to take to brand a startup?
Well, my company originally was called Syzygy, S-Y-Z-Y-G-Y. It's the last S in the dictionary. And I was a techie, and I thought it was a cool name, but nobody could spell it, nobody could say it. And
the S Company.
The S Company. And so when it came to naming the other Atari, I decided that I wanted a short name. Short names are better. And I wanted it to be easily pronounceable and easily spellable, so that if you hear it, you could probably find it, you know, in those days it was, you know, in the phone book.
Yeah.
But I played Go, and I played the Japanese version of Go, and Atari is a polite warning to your opponent that you're about to take all his stones.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought, that's a cool, very aggressive name, you know?
I'm about to take the market.
I'm about to take all your stones.
His other company was originally named Charles E. Cheese, correct?
Yeah.
And you changed it to Chuck?
Chuck. Well, you know,
yeah.
Upchuck is one of those things that, anyway, that's another story.
No, it's a great story to learn. It's all about strategy too, talking about Go and Wakey. Yeah. We'll take the next question. Ali with our group at the Muscat College of Business and Sciences. Why do 70% of new companies fail? How can we prevent these failures? How do I know when a business isn't going to work? Would you like to say, to respond to that question, Magid?
Well, I wish that there was a formula that would prevent this. This is really a statistic that has held for a long time. It's just the nature of entrepreneurship, and it's the nature of you come up with an idea. There are execution problems, there are market problems that can come up that are unanticipated. There are also management and team problems. So I suppose you can work on these to lower your risk. But I have to tell you that in a lot of cases, the line between success and failure is a very, very thin line. And you could be on the verge of failure today and on the riding the thrill of success a week from now or 2 weeks from now. A lot of it has to do with perseverance and figuring out, well, if this idea is not working, how can I adapt it, modify it, to be able to come up with a twist that has a better chance of working. Now that said, and I think this is really important in a lot of companies outside the US, the fear of failure tends to be a great inhibitor for entrepreneurs because the culture doesn't really encourage that. But I think that that's, here at least, it's a badge of honor to have tried something, and if it failed, you learn from it, and if you learn from it, your experience would be very valuable for your next job or your next venture.
There are actually some venture capitalists will not invest if you have not failed previously. I mean, it's really crazy. You know?
Yeah. You're right, because the other part of that is if you never fail, it just means you're not trying hard enough, right?
Yeah.
Leaders are people that push the edge a little bit, so by definition, you're going to stumble and fall. And if you've never failed, it just feels to me like you're just not pushing that hard.
Yeah, and you had also an example last night about Atari and AMD at a very turning point, and that talks about the importance a little bit. If you could share that example was.
People think of Atari as being this huge success, but we were really on the knife edge a couple of times and almost failed. Jerry Sanders from AMD, I went to him and I said, I need some of your parts. And yes, the parts that you shipped me before, I still owe you money for them, and it's over 90 days. And I said, but if I can get through and I can pay you all of it, he said, okay. And as a result, I gave him big orders from then on, and it was this community of help. I didn't deserve the help at that time, but he gave it to me, and it was good for him.
Talking about building a community of support for the entrepreneurs and the importance of actually having a supportive customer that can help you through the tough times, and it can go the other way too.
You know, it's really interesting you say that, because what a lot of people don't think of is their customer as a partner and maybe even an investor in some cases. What they think is, I got to solve all these problems somehow so the customer doesn't know about it. But the smart thing that you did is sometimes when you go to the customer and say, look, if I can build this stuff, you'll benefit from it, but I'm not going to make it without a little bit of help. There's a lot of great examples out there where people went to the customer and the customer said, we'll help you get there. But a lot of entrepreneurs don't even think of that, as the customer as a source.
I hadn't thought of it, but I was desperate.
Desperation helps you become more creative too. Right. Okay, Ronald from the International Islamic Marketing Association. Is there a way for a company to be for profit and still address societal problems in our countries? You want to say?
Sure. In fact, earlier, at the end of last year, I hosted in the White House the Impact Awards, which were social entrepreneurship. And it was very interesting because the lesson learned was people think of social entrepreneurship as the company, the product. We're planting trees. Our company does that. They think that the product or the service has to be something that in itself does good. But in fact, one of the people that we gave one of the big awards to in the White House was a guy that sells wine on the internet. It's a company that sells wine. Selling wine on the internet is not in fact feeding the hungry or clearing pollution or anything. That's not the point. The point is what he does with his profits. So social entrepreneurship is not just about your product, it's about what you do with your success. He was an example of a company that takes their profits and goes out and reinvests them into the community around them. They pay for mammograms for homeless single mothers. They pay for school lunches for inner city kids. There's a lot you can do as a social entrepreneur with a social conscience with a for-profit company. So it's not just about that your product has to be the social piece.
Great. Well, also, I think it's okay to do good while doing well. You know, and I plan to do very well in my education company right now, but I think I can accelerate learning for every country in the world.
So the nature of your product, you are actually enabling learning, evolution, human growth. Okay, no, that's great. Participants in our group at Muftak Solutions in Pakistan ask, is it better to address an existing need or to create a new market like the iPhone did?
I would say an existing need is always a safer bet, because when you are investing in something totally new, you really don't know how it's going to play out. But if it does play out, it's it's usually a much bigger success. So you invested in Facebook. When Facebook was starting, it was kind of a wild idea. There was no precedent for it, not clear how you'd make money on it. In fact, Google also, it took them about 4 years to figure out how they can make money on search. So I think an existing need, particularly in countries where the support infrastructure for entrepreneurs doesn't really exist, is probably a safer way to go than just starting something from scratch.
Now I'll go a little bit deeper on that one, because I think it's important when you find a need. How are you looking to identify the needs? How do you qualify a need? I think that would be interesting, because let's say I have your son mentioned you have a list of problems that he identifies. It's important, how do you do the next step in assessing a little bit that specific need? You kind of go deeper. How are you?
You just have to talk to people. You have to talk to your potential customers. You have to talk to potential consumers. You have to do what I call the focus group, or the poor man's focus group. And ultimately, will you find somebody that will pay for it? Will you find somebody that will invest in it? That's kind of the ultimate test, is
validation. The ultimate validation, when someone pays to acquire your product.
Exactly.
But, to that question, I think Nolan said it best. To the viewer's question of how do you decide which idea to work on, I completely agree with what Nolan said. Ideas pick you. In the end, you look at a bunch of ideas and one becomes obvious. And in fact, at my company ColorJar, we do this thing we call the golden purpose, which is helping people find their golden purpose in life, or companies. Yeah. That's the thing that you are best equipped to succeed at. So you might have 148 ideas, but there's going to be some ideas on there that are just obvious that you are, like robotics for you, that you are a really good fit to pursue that idea. The more you research ideas, the more you find the one that is your golden purpose, and it becomes more obvious. It doesn't matter so much whether it's an existing need or a new market. It matters, are you a person that's able to succeed in that space?
With that idea.
I also think
I was just going to say, I also think ideas, you need to think of them multidimensionally. For example, every idea can be a great big idea that has the characteristic, this will be really good if this will be really successful if it's really successful. But the pathway to success is impossible, or very expensive. And so I think every idea has characteristics. How much is it likely to cost to get started? Like, I can have the idea for the best car, but to start a new automobile manufacturing company is really tough. And what you want to do is right size your idea to what you're doing. And so I put several characteristics. What the marketing, is this an easy marketing problem? Is it a hard one? Is it cheap to finance? Can I finance it out of my back pocket?
Yeah, you need to assess a lot of factors. Great. Dirgam from Baghdad, is it better to do the small quick-to-market projects or large-scale projects that might take more time and involve more risks? And actually, we anticipated the question.
I did. But see, I think that you always want to get into business, and the quicker and faster you can get into business, selling anything, building anything, getting a team together, you can look at it as your first step.
I completely agree with that. In fact, one of the things I always tell entrepreneurs is you're trying to get credibility as an entrepreneur in the community, with investors, with customers, with employees. The way you do that is to win a gold medal in something. Right? When you see a gold medal athlete in any sport, you know that they know about commitment and hard work and performing under pressure. So I agree with that. Get into business somewhere, do something really well, win a gold medal, so when he says to you, what have you done lately, whatever it was, big or small, you did it really well and your last effort was a success. It's important to get out there and get something done.
Keep just one thing. Keep in mind that consumer-oriented ideas may be easy to execute, but very hard to market.
Yes.
I find that in the business world, if you are working for a company and then you have a customer that has a need that's unfulfilled, and you just branch out and have that customer be your first customer, your first revenue source, that's a great way to launch an idea. And many, many successful companies have done that.
Mm-hmm. No, all great insights. Nawaf, the Muscat College of Business and Sciences. If I have many ideas, how would I know which one is the best? And in what should I depend on in my selection? To a certain degree, we address, but if you would like
Sure,
to.
you know, I think we said that there were two things. One is getting immediate market feedback, going out to customers right away to determine if there's a real market of people that actually value your service and will pay for it. And then the second half of that was, even if that's true, are you the person that can execute this company? Do you have skills, experience, resource, relationships? Do you have any reason, any unique assets about you that make you believe that you can actually execute this plan? I think those are two important things in idea selection.
Yeah, I tell people that they should build their product last. That the first thing you do is you put it on a website. And you know, a website is real cheap, particularly if you learn how to do it yourself and that. Or you do a one-page sell sheet. First one has the price and a rough picture of what it is and a little bit of a description. And the idea of the sell sheet is the front is to attract you and the back has all the details. Mm-hmm. And you try to sell. You know, a lot of products are sold from a sell sheet, and you go out and you try to sell it. And if that doesn't work, then you build the box, and you put a brick in it, and it looks like the product and everything. You know, and the same thing. It's about communication. If you can't sell the box with a brick in it, they don't know that there's a brick in it, but it has about the same thing. Mm-hmm. If you can't sell that, don't build the product.
Of course, it's an intermediary step. Great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me. It's really important to realize that venture capitalists don't invest in ideas; they invest in people.
Yeah.
And so we have to temper the enthusiasm. Oh, I have this great idea, or this and that, by, you know, what makes you unique, as Nolan said, to be able to execute that. And if you really don't have that, move to the next idea that will make you. And then I would also say that you really need to have a team around you that believes in that idea. It's not just enough that you have that idea, because it's not a one-man show. It's going to be a team show.
Great. Yeah, because a lot of times venture capitalists are looking at you and saying, "What's this company like if I have to fire that guy?"
Yes.
Yeah, great. Good insights. Now for all panelists from SAD with our group at the Embassy Baghdad, do you have to be in the USA to be successful? I think Jeff loves this question.
Yeah, I absolutely love that question. In fact, I just over about the last 14 months kind of did a world tour of entrepreneurship, right, where I went to literally every continent, some of those with you in the GIST effort, which were fantastic, but also working with the State Department and the White House to look at exactly that question. What does it take? And here's the great news. The answer is no. You absolutely do not need to be in the USA to be successful, nor, by the way, does your company have to immediately launch in the US. In fact, we tell people in their regions, become successful in your region, prove out your model, right? Show that you can launch this business and then scale it. Don't start with the world on day one. Do something in a market that you can absolutely win at and prove your point. But here's the thing. Idea generation, right? And the support that it takes today, technology, social media, connectivity, changed everything. So today, you could take a course at Stanford online for free that you could never do before. You can access experts. I actually use WhatsApp and Skype to mentor entrepreneurs all over the Middle East, North Africa region, all over the world on a regular weekly basis. You can access expertise, you can access tools, you can access mentors. So there's no excuse anymore when people tell me, well, I'm not American. I tell them that you're just looking for a reason to fail. Good ideas occur everywhere, all the time, and the support structure, the infrastructure is there. It's just harder to find in other countries, but it's doable.
Even more than that, like in the video game business, the Japanese have done a great job of exporting their culture in the form of games. And right now, I would love to play a Turkish game. that has something unique about Turkey, or a Pakistani game.
We have several sites in Turkey, actually, in the audience.
But what I really want to be able to do is, I want a geography and a cultural lesson while I'm playing my games.
Which helps with your learning as well.
Exactly. And I just think that you're going to get really unique stuff if people get proud of their culture and want to say, hey, there may be a world important of that.
So Chuck E. Cheese is going to launch Chuck E. Falafel, is what I'm hearing.
We will connect with our partners in Turkey, and we have done a lot of great work there. You have any thoughts on this? Or?
Well, I would say one of the formulas actually that has proven very successful is what Israeli companies tend to do, which is they have the engineering and product development done in Israel, where there is a lot of talent to do it, but they almost very quickly open a commercial office in the United States. So they kind of the investment and the validation of the idea happens locally, but in order for them to shoot for the global stage and the global market, they can have not necessarily a very expensive presence, but a presence in the United States to get their initial idea launched.
And I think this plays to the idea of, if you come from a country that's relatively small, you can still use that as a kind of development base if you have technical talent, which a number of the countries that we are working with have. And then if your market is in the nearby countries, but still you have to test.
Just quickly, I think it's a great idea. I recently went on an entrepreneurship mentoring tour in countries like Slovenia and Kosovo, countries with under 2 million people in it. It was interesting because some people said, our market's really small. And I said, well, you're looking at that as a disadvantage. The advantage of if you live in a small market country is it's easy to actually control, launch, test, really get a full understanding of the market in a small market, because you can dominate it, do it really well, and then expand.
Great. Sami at the Muscat College of Business and Sciences asks, Mr. Bushnell, you started in an age where entrepreneurship was foreign. The entrepreneurial ecosystem is in many countries not as developed as in the US. How do we keep trying?
Well, one of the things that's happening is that a lot of countries are starting to become aware that their laws and regulations are actually toxic to startups. And we are trying to move that. And I've been giving lectures about what is toxic in terms of that. And I believe that if you happen to be in a country that is toxic to entrepreneurship, I think it will be changing. But more than that, I think that that this whole idea of entrepreneurship is one which is growing quickly. And I like the maker movement, which is for very young kids as well as older people to start building things. The internet has democratized marketing in a very important way, and the things like the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino has enabled a great deal of invention to be taking place with very, very small amounts of technology in reality. And so what we're having is this acceleration that is just being incredible, and I'm very optimistic that everything is going to get better tomorrow.
Great. Thank you.
I think it's important to differentiate between entrepreneurship, which is much broader than high-tech entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has existed for the last 2 centuries. I mean, if you think about all the American companies and a lot of the European companies, think about a Renault or a Peugeot or Henry Ford, they all started as entrepreneurs. There are 11 million small businesses in the US, and a lot of them are very successful, and they can scale to something. So it doesn't really have to be high-tech. Think about Starbucks. What's high-tech about Starbucks? Nothing. Think about, I met the other day the owner of a chain in the US called Hair Cuttery. It's about cutting hairs at a relatively low price. Started it with one salon, thought that it's doing well, he started opening more and more stores, and then it became a very successful chain. So I don't think we should kind of limit ourselves in defining entrepreneurship to being the next Facebook or Google.
Yeah, and entrepreneurship comes in different shapes and forms, and even the technology companies, they have different market sizes, different needs that they address. There are only few of the big ones that you can call like Facebook and Google, but there are a lot of needs local that can be addressed through technology.
And sometimes just creating a brand where people have an expectation and it's fulfilled, which is a process or a new economic model. All that's entrepreneurial.
Yeah, great. Jeff, you talked about identifying new trends in technology. What trends do each of you see as the next big things? And this will be a kind of, I think, one of the last questions.
Trends in consumer, I'm not sure sort of what angle. But
in technology, so, what sort of big trends in technology?
So, we're seeing a few trends. Obviously, there's some that get a lot of media, like big data. The fact that people are we've been talking for decades about the intelligence that's in the data, right? When you're running a business, somewhere out there is enough data to launch a company on. That, I think, even though we've talked about it before, is still a big trend and getting better because the tools are getting smarter for doing that. And the truth is, in the Priceline case, the whole reason that Priceline was able to succeed was because we had the data to show hotels and airlines the money they were leaving on the table with empty hotel rooms and empty airplane seats. Without data behind that to say, look, you can say what you want, but we just added it up. Here's all the money you're leaving on the table, and we can get you that money. Data was, I think that's a huge trend. But we're seeing other really interesting trends, the obvious ones in social media and social buying. The ones we still don't know what they mean, like all things geo, right? The fact that we used to, an application sit on a computer on a server somewhere. It has no idea who you were or where you were. Now we'll see more trends in things like geo, that wherever we are, our phone will change, or the apps will change their decision making based on literally where I am and what I'm doing. So I think there's any number of trends, but I think those are some of the interesting ones. What about you guys?
Well, I think that in the game space, the Oculus Rift is going to be a game changer for the video game side of things. I actually think the Google Glasses are going to be a game changer in the video game space. And these are both at the time when, if you jump in, by the time they really come along, you will be, wouldn't you have loved to be the first app on the iPhone? You'd sell a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are important. The other one that I think is going to be an important thing is, what does the Google car, auto-drive automobiles, what does that imply for ancillary services? That is, if you have a car that's driving itself, can you give it a hamburger while it's driving at 60 miles an hour, or what have you? Because there's a whole different kind of environment that's going on.
That's a big trend. Yeah, sure.
Well, I think the mobile internet is going to be a lot bigger than the desktop internet. So mobile and applications about mobile are going to be very popular, in particular exploiting the local aspect of what mobile can enable. Another trend that I see is using sensors about the body to be able to make health decisions, etc. And I think it's interesting that the two examples here that we had today had to do with leveraging senses about the body to provide useful information to the user.
That's great. Thank you. Our group in Bangladesh asks, if any business idea fails, the entrepreneur may be mentally shocked. How do you deal with failure?
Just go the other direction?
Yeah, let's go this way.
You just have the resilience to pick up and go. There is you basically try to find out what went wrong, what can you learn from it, how can you apply it in your next job or your next venture. And I also think that the notion that failure is shameful is something that's antithetical to really being an entrepreneur and taking risk. If 7 out of 10 ideas fail, a lot of the people who are in those in those kind of ventures are not stupid. They are actually, they have thought well, they have a lot of skills and expertise. It just, it did not work. And they pick up and go. That's really what differentiates ultimately somebody who is really successful versus somebody that gets crushed under the weight of a failure.
Thank you. And we'll get the last questions. It's Maria from Pakistan. Sometimes a great idea needs someone else to do it. How do you find someone to take on the task of turning that idea into reality? And how do you separate yourself from your idea?
Okay, I think that's absolutely a great question, because you pointed out already, you cannot, well, let me say it this way, you are never as smart as you think you are. No matter how successful you've been, you are never as smart as you think you are. You need people smarter than you in the areas that you're not an expert in to launch. It's always a team effort. The best team wins. You have got to build a team to be able to succeed and find people smarter than you in those areas. And to answer the second part of that question, how do you build a team like that? You build a team by asking people what their goals are. The mistake entrepreneurs make is, I go to Nolan and say, I'd like you to work 7 days a week around the clock so that one day I can buy a boat. That isn't really motivating Nolan. Every day he's working for me because someday I want to own a big boat. If I go to Nolan and say, tell me your dreams, your life plan, what you're trying to achieve, and then I say, look, I can draw a map from you to your goals by working on this project with me, that motivates people.
I have a funny story. My sister boss at some point, basically, she had a nice house near her desk, and her boss comes, if you work really, really hard, you and your team, someday this house will be mine.
Yeah.
Talking about nice alignment of motivation. And I'm afraid we're out of time. And thank you so much for a wonderful panelist and everyone viewing. We have viewers from 25 countries around the world. And TechConnect is a great platform that allows us to kind of share ideas and experience and expertise and inspire entrepreneurs. I would like to thank all our partners around the world that helped make this event a possibility. The partnership with CONEX, the State Department, CRDF Global, the George Washington University, where we'll be heading for to take live questions, the North American Arab Chamber of Commerce, and N2V Ventures, Type, Egypt Innovate, TEPAV, Algerian Startup Initiative, and CTIC in Senegal. I would like to encourage all the viewers to join our community. We have 125,000 entrepreneurs online on our Facebook, and we leverage this to share opportunities about our upcoming events. We can continue to help one another in our local entrepreneurial community by actually connecting with GIST, and thank you all for the time.
Just do it.
And just do it, yeah. And basically, I would like to emphasize that we start to see results with the GIST community. The top 100 entrepreneurs in our network raised 21 million and generated almost 400 jobs. So all our efforts here, talking and sharing ideas and experiences, ultimately will lead to a transformation and a positive change in the communities. And I would like to emphasize that this is just the beginning of a conversation. There's a long road, and we started to walk that road together with our entrepreneurs, and there are a lot of market problems that wait to be solved, and many ideas waiting to materialize. As our panelists said before, be aware of what is going on around you, talk to people, read a lot, open your mind, and if you have an idea, do not wait too long. It is better to test it now and see if it works. Believe in yourself and do not let anyone discourage you, and think big. There's nothing you cannot do. But remember, it's not just about having an idea, it's also about making it happen. And we will organize the next series of the TechConnects exactly focused on the next steps, the bootstrapping, how to raise capital for your ventures, how to get customers. And in the end, I would like to thank you again, and also our team at GIST, Fidan, Amanda, Natalia, Anna, Catherine, Jeff. Thank you.
This program has been brought to you by Connex.